And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I am Michael DeLon. Today I'm talking with John Braddock. John, man, thank you for being my guest and spending a few minutes with me.
Oh, well, thank you so much for inviting me. It's my pleasure.
Oh, you are welcome. This is, folks, this is going to be an amazing interview. John has as much energy as I do. He and I connected, first of all, on LinkedIn a while back. I learned what he did, and I said, I've got to have him on my podcast because John helps you really plan for your departure from this world. And he's got a program and a way to bring all of your stuff together so that dying doesn't have to be a disaster. And so many times it's a disaster for those you leave behind. And that's what we want to talk about of what you've created, John. I love what you've created, and I want everybody to know about it. Tell me, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today with this?
Great question. So my background is the financial services world. I had a large employee benefits consulting company, did that for 30 some odd years. And it was in 2013, in fact, Labor Day, my wife and I were out on the golf course and we got a phone call. And I was like, don't answer your phone. Don't answer your phone. Right. It was playing golf. Right. Beautiful day. And time she got to the phone, they had hung up. Well, then it starts to ring again. And she picks the phone up. And then I see her face just gets real stoic. And a tear starts to roll down her eye. And she said, Dad's dead. We have to go. Dad lived about a quarter mile from us, right up the street. It was the first time my wife and I ever had to deal with losing someone and closing out their final affairs.
Yeah.
And for those who have been through that experience, you know what I mean when I say in the first 48, 72 hours, you have about 120 questions that you have to answer. The first one being, where should we take Dad?
Yes.
We get to the house, police still there, EMTs are still there. We got to wait for the medical examiner. We're in the living room. Dad is right above us on the bedroom floor. And the medical examiner says, where should we take Dad?
Yeah.
We're in shock. There's 10 funeral homes in town. It's like, I don't know, who do you recommend? The next thing you're dealing with, funeral directors and trying to make decisions and not knowing. And, you hope you're making choices that would be pleasing to the one who left.
Yeah.
But man, did he want a memorial service or did he want a religious ceremony? Did he want, Father Tom to preside, buried or cremated? And so you do the best you can. And you go through that process of just trying to make the final arrangements. How are you going to pay for it? We don't know, and as nice as funeral directors are, and empathetic as they are, while they're telling you how sorry they are for your loss, they're also sliding right across the table a bill which needs to be settled before we put Dad in the ground.
Yes.
Or handle it.
That's right.
So that was the first part of the process, just the not knowing what someone wants. As my good friend Nick had said to me, he said, John, I wish I had known Mom wanted to be cremated before I buried her.
Yeah.
It's a true story. And we laugh because it's like, these are the comedies of life and death, right? He didn't find out till a couple months later, digging through his mom's things. She had jotted down in a journal, I think I'd like to be cremated. And he's like, Mom, you couldn't have told me this?
That's right. Yeah.
And so when you start to go through that process, first of all, you want to be sad and you want to grieve because that's part of the healing process.
Yes.
But then you get wrapped up into what I call the massive scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
Is there a will or a trust? How do we find it? Who's his attorney? Who is his accountant? Does he have life insurance? Where do we find it? Where's all the places that you bank? And how do we access those? And retirement assets. And our quick story, this is my some secrets shouldn't be taken to the grave story. We find a safe deposit box key. Now, imagine an 80-year-old man, same house, 40 some odd years. He has his own office. I swear, as Lord's my witness, he never threw away anything. This thing was just stacked with boxes and papers and things that just blow your mind. So that was either a blessing or a curse. I'm not sure. But we find a safe deposit box key. No identifying bank.
Oh no.
We go to the two banks that we actually know he has accounts at. Think we'll find this, right? Nope. And I was about ready to give up. I was like, you know what? He had a box at one time, but he couldn't find the key in all this clutter,
Yeah.
right? And he probably just paid the fee to the bank and moved on. Well, my wife, she's a little more tenacious than I am. And so she continued to scratch at that itch. 2 weeks later, she finds a bank on the other side of the city where he has no other accounts. And that only he and the bank knew he had a box there. And inside that box was 752 paper shares of IBM stock.
Oh my goodness. Oh
Right?
my goodness. Praise God for your wife.
Yes. Some secrets should not be taken to the grave, because finding those assets, and he was a private man, and so finding those made the difference of keeping our mother-in-law in her house longer than she would have been able to.
Yeah.
And then when she went to assisted living, providing a better quality of care.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. What stories, and people, those who are listening, I mean, these are real. I've walked through a similar situation. And if you don't plan for your departure, you are going to leave an absolute mess for your family, for your spouse, right? I'm a big proponent, John, as you know, of really challenging men to plan for their future. I think it's the most loving thing you can do for your wife, is to plan as much as you can, so that in that first week or two, they can grieve and not have to make all those decisions, versus going online to your system and saying, here's everything we need, right? So explain a little bit about what you've created, and we'll dive back into it, but how do you make this process a little bit better?
Yeah. So what dawned on me, Michael, was this. It was like, so my wife and I have 6 children.
Okay.
We had other business at the time. We traveled a lot. And it was like, man, if something happened to me, my kids wouldn't know who the attorney is, the accountant, financial advisors, where we banked, if we had life insurance, will trust. They'd know none of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it would not be a time of, well, it would be a time of sadness and grief, but it would also be a time of frustration, confusion, anxiety, added stress, time, money spent looking for things. And so I had this vision. What if I didn't make it home tonight?
Mm-hmm.
My family, literally at the touch of a button, wherever they are on the planet, would have accessed everything they need to know. They would know Dad wants a religious funeral. He wants to be cremated. He wants his ashes scattered here. He's got these life insurance policies with copies of them stored there, mind you. We know that's going to pay for that. Oh, here's his attorney, and here's a copy of the trust. And here's all the bank accounts. Here's the credit cards, because it's important we cancel the credit cards when someone dies, because we live our lives on auto pay and recurring pay. Am I wrong?
You are so right, man. There are so many things we don't even know we were paying for, because we just put, that $997 a month thing that you bought a few years ago is still dinging your credit card. Yeah.
Exactly. And then of course, your digital identities, which, things like, I say A to Z, Amazon to Zoom. These are things we pay for. They're on recurring pay, and everything in between. When we start to think about how someone can access my Gmail, my Google Drive, what about YouTube, Netflix, SiriusXM Radio, Chewy.com, that's drop shipping dog food once a week, right?
Yeah.
This stuff has to be dealt with. And so I got thinking about it. This is before I did a presentation about 2 years ago. There was a study that said per one email address, it's associated with 130 digital identities.
Wow.
Now I'm 62. I'm an old guy.
Okay.
I use a 1Pass password manager.
Yeah.
So I thought, I wonder how many I have in there. September of 2022, I had 457.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to talk about a nightmare for people?
Mm-hmm.
Much less take down my Facebook account, which is in fact my biggest pet peeve, because I have friends that have active Facebook accounts and they are no longer responding, thank you for the birthday wishes.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and it's hard because the deceased is deceased, right? And so you, being the living person, trying to close a bank account, trying to close a Facebook account, they're like, "Well, we need a death certificate." Well, good luck getting one of those anytime soon, right? And
Right.
you feel handcuffed in those realms. But how about car titles, right? What I mean, little things like that that we don't even think about. If it's you and your spouse, good luck, because you need their signature. Oh, by the way, they're 3 feet under or 6 feet under. Yeah, I ain't gonna. There are so many little things we don't even think about that I'm sure your system walks people through and helps them understand that it's all in one place. And I think that is the beauty of what you've created, John. It it's all there. It's simple for everybody to access. So the kids, I mean, you got kids, they're in a different state. When you die, are they going to come and transplant to Arizona for the next month and a half? Or could they maybe stay where they are and do some things from there? Is that fair?
Exactly. And and that's just why we created it. When I built this thing, I wanted it to be so intuitive that my 85-year-old mother can do it. And
Mm-hmm.
so every section is broken down. There's personal, there's financial, which is bank accounts, loans, where your investments are located. There's documents, a place to store, copies of your will, your trust, your life insurance policies, proof of ownership documents, those things. But at a minimum, even if people don't scan and upload a copy, if they don't have a digitized copy, is to put, I bank at Arizona Bank and Trust, and I have a checking, a savings, and a money market. I have a life insurance policy. It's with Prudential.
Right.
Family will find it.
Yes.
But almost 10 billion, that's with a B, $10 billion of life insurance has gone unclaimed because beneficiaries didn't know they were a beneficiary.
Yes. And
You
that's so
know,
sad because your loved one who's now gone, that's why they put that life insurance policy there. It's for your benefit. But they didn't go to the next step of saying, hey, by the way, here's what I've done. And here's where
right.
you can find it. It's really you've made it a lot simpler to have conversations that a lot of us avoid for I'm not really sure why. It's just awkward. We're not taught to talk about death and dying, but we need to. And you've kind of created this online portal where you can gather everything in a simple way, pull together a family meeting, say, here's where you go, here's the password. It's all there.
Exactly.
Let's talk.
And we have a system built in that allows for what we call authorized users. So, as an example, my daughter, Mary, who lives in Florida, I can name her as an authorized user. And I can select what she can see within the platform
Love it.
until she needs to see everything.
Yes.
And as an added safety feature, because I have 6 kids, and kids can be, shall we say, curious.
Right.
And so people say, hey, John, what stops Mary from going in, nosing around? I said, here's what stops Mary. If Mary goes to log in, she gets a pop-up that says, hey, Mary, you're about ready to access your dad's account. He will be notified immediately. Would you like to continue? And there's the bailout button, because I know my kids, if they know that
Yeah.
I'm going to know they were looking around, they're not going in there.
That's right.
And so that's what provides that immediate access when they need it. If she gets a call that, dad died, she can immediately log in and find out, all right, we need to take him to Messinger Funeral Home.
Yeah.
We need to contact the estate planning attorney as this person. And you can do a lot of stuff without having to, embark on that massive scavenger hunt.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really good because during those first, you said 48 hours, I think that's really, really good. One of the first things I did for the widow that I helped walk through this process, I gave her a notebook and a pen. I said, just when something comes to your mind, write it down, because your brain is not functioning right now because you're in stress mode. Just write it down. And I think that was really helpful because you not only have all of this, John, you have friends and family who are coming and loving on you and remembering and crying and oh, by the way, I need to know, yeah, do you want his suit on him? Which suit do you want him buried in? And in the funeral, it's like, I mean, you're pulled in so many different directions. Whereas when you have your program, I mean, seriously, one of the kids could get delegated to that at one level, right? You go take care of all that. Mom's going over here. She's going to spend the next 3 hours with friends and family and loved ones who are stopping by with food and all that stuff. Let mom be mom. And
Right.
then we'll circle back for the last 2 or 3 things later night or something like that. But that was not my experience. My experience was there was one decision maker, and it was the wife. And man, I tell you, it was a challenging week because we did not have what you've created here.
Yeah. And the last thing she wanted to do was make any decision because she just lost the most important person to her in the world.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, and added to that. So we're at the funeral home, right? We're talking about the casket and the stuff and it was the urn because it was going to get cremated. But she's sitting there. I'm sitting there. Her 2 girls are sitting there. Her mother-in-law is sitting there, and her the deceased brother, whatever that would be. We're all in this one room, right? And so the funeral director's saying, well, which urn would you like? And she is deferring to everybody in the room because she doesn't want to offend anybody. Had he made that decision, guess what? So much easier. And that was one little decision, and there were multiple decisions like that. It's not wrong. Nobody ever thought to plan ahead, and that's what you help them do. So that was just, I mean, that's why I love what you've done so much because it's so helpful and so needed.
Thank you. You know, there's 2 things when I talk to people all the time. I mean, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I know. I should probably do that." And so, well, why haven't you done any planning? I get 2 responses. One is, "Well, I have time." I'm like, "Boom! Wow, really? Can I borrow your crystal ball? Because life ain't promised. I don't know if I'm making it home tonight or not. I hope I do, but I don't know. I don't hold that key, right?" So I tell people because we see it all the time. It's car accidents, it's sudden illnesses that take people. And the last thing you want to do if you're sick and you have a terminal diagnosis is spend time trying to list everything out so family can find things when you ultimately pass, rather than spending quality time with them right now.
Absolutely.
The other one is my favorite. People say it's bad luck. Kind of like, if we talk about it, then it's going to make it happen. Well, newsflash, it is going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen any quicker. And I said, use this analogy. I said, we talk about sex all the time, but it doesn't make you pregnant.
That's right.
So talking about and planning for the future is not going to make you dead any quicker, but it's probably the greatest final gift that I could leave to my family.
Absolutely. 100%. Man, I could not agree more. It's just something that we need to do, and it will take a little bit of time to gather all this, but if you have the vision of you're doing this as a love offering, right? And you should, I think, be including your spouse and your kids as you are doing this to foster conversations, because guess what? Your spouse needs to do this. Your kids need to do this. If I've got adult kids who are starting to now have grandkids, they need to be doing things like this, right? It just needs to become a topic of conversation. Not that we're talking about it every week, maybe once a year. But once you get it set up, not a lot changes, right? Some things do, but not a lot. But I mean, ballpark, if somebody embarks on this, are they talking? I mean, I know everybody's there. Is it an hour, 5 hours, 18 months to get something just kind of rudimentally set up?
Right. Well, that's a great question, because people ask me all the time. They're like, well, there's just so much stuff that I have, and it's going to be time consuming and daunting. And I'm like, you know what? That's valid. I get it.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be time consuming and daunting for you, and you know where your stuff is, can you imagine how time consuming and daunting it's going to be for your family if you don't?
Right.
But to answer that question, it really depends. What I tell people is don't get overwhelmed. build a roadmap first. Don't, you're sitting there, you're watching the ball game or something, you're watching the Olympics, right? You get your laptop out, you go there, you know where you bank, go to bank accounts, name the bank and the type of account you have, save. You know, if you have life insurance, just put life insurance, here's the company, save.
Yeah.
You can always come back and put more and more detail.
Yeah.
Because again, as long as family knows what you have and where it is physically,
Yeah.
it's going to save them enormous amounts of time.
Honestly, yeah. I remember that from my experience is the widow, we knew he had a 401k through his company at something, right? So she had to call that company and say, hey, my husband just passed away. And every person she talked to was so compassionate, so helpful, told her exactly what they needed in order to release the information or whatever. It made it easy, but she had to do some digging to find that. Whereas if he had your system, it would be okay. Oh, I need to call here. And those companies, they have all the records. They know, they can connect the dots, right?
Absolutely. And just as a tip, if you lose someone and they're still employed, go to the human resources
Yes.
person. That person's going to help you with the 401k, any life insurance that they may have, and those kind of things to at least get the track record started. But if you use our My Life and Wishes platform, or what I like to call the Legacy Vault, is I can list in there who my employer is.
Yes.
And the name of the HR person and their phone number.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Well, that little things like that do help because it took us a little bit to find the right person, right? And but yeah, the HR department was very, very helpful. And guess what? The company had an insurance policy on him from 38 years ago. Didn't even know that. It's like, oh well, gosh, there's an extra 15,000 or whatever it was. It's like, well, that will help pay for some things. Right? So it's all these things that you may have. I mean, I have a Prudential life insurance policy that my parents took out on me right after I was born. I didn't know that until about 5 years ago when my mom gave it to me. I'm like, what in the world is this?
Yeah. And over time, it grows. It starts out, my parents did that for us too. And I'm just a couple of years older than you, but it was $1,000 policy, $2,000 policy then. But mom continue to pay premium stuff. It ends up being a $5,000 policy that's fully paid up. It's not life-changing money, but trust me, no one has ever said to an insurance company, "Oh no, that's too much. Don't give that to me."
Right? Just keep the check.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, all right. Let's turn and talk to let people understand a little. Just snippet. What is your system? What is your system? What's it called? What's it do for them? I mean, it's going to capture your documents, all your electronic documents and stuff. The peace of mind it gives as well. When somebody gets done, even if it's the rudimentary things, you're going to sit back and go, that feels really good. Do you find that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the peace of mind that you get when you have everything planned out, and as an added bonus of doing it, I built this to make things easier for those we love when we die. However, for me, it's become an amazing organization and planning tool. If I'm at home and I need a copy of a document that I have here in my office, I can get it immediately. Yeah. If you live in an area that might be prone to natural disasters, flooding, hurricanes, wildfires, tornadoes, where every year tens of thousands of people lose everything in its physical format, wouldn't it be great to have a digitized copy of the important things in your life so that you can, rebuild a little easier? Yeah. But what our platform is, it's a trusted, secure digital legacy planning and document storage platform. Wow. And it easily guides individuals through the process of safeguarding, uploading, and memorializing significant details of their life. And then it's accessible 24/7, anywhere on the globe. And what it really does, it alleviates the burden on families during that aftermath when a loved one dies. that being the added stress, frustration, time constraints, financial expenses,
Yeah.
by giving them that immediate access. And I work with a lot of estate planning attorneys, and here's the thing. They tell me all the time that family will come to them, say dad has died, and we're not sure like all the assets dad has.
Yeah.
Now we're paying that attorney and their team to reach out to
Yeah.
every financial institution in the geographic area, asking, did so and so have any accounts at your bank? And then going to the National Registry for Life Insurance and trying to track all that down. And at the end of the day, families are spending enormous amounts of money to get these things resolved. Whereas if I had just taken a little time and done it myself, that's more money back in my family's pocket where it should be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, brother, you and I can talk for hours on this, I'm sure, because it's definitely a passion for mine and a hot button. And I'm so thankful that you've created this, because I just know from firsthand experience how helpful it would have been. Where do people go to find more about your legacy vault, as you called it? I like that phrase. What do they do?
Hey, the easiest thing to do is just go to our website, which is mylifeandwishes.com. And you can learn more. You can watch a video about our story and how we created this. We have a bunch of resources there, checklists that people can download to help get them started. And they can start a free trial. No credit card required. We have a 30-day free trial to get in there and give it a go. But I encourage people, if you start the free trial, just do something a little bit each day so that you can see how intuitive and easy it is.
Yeah, that's really good. And that really, going back to the how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, just do this a little bit at a time, and you'll be shocked. In a month and a half, probably faster than that, honestly, you're going to get it done, because if you're like me, you're going to get a taste of it and you go, oh, no, this is really cool. Oh, what about this? And ideas come, and you've got a spot for everything, and it's like, oh, look at this. And then it's just an iterative approach, and then you share it with your family, and they're going to go, wow, that's cool. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
That's going to be worth it all, right?
And then your adult children who said, wow, thanks, Dad, for getting this set up, they're going to think, I need to do this for myself.
Yep. And what better Christmas gift could you give to your adult children than to give them their own My Life and Wishes account, their own legacy vault for their family? That would be a really cool legacy gift, I think. But that's how I think. So I think you should do it for yourself, do it for your spouse, do it for your kids, and get this thing going so that your death is not a disaster. All right. Make it a wonderful time. So, brother John, thank you for being here. Thank you for investing in this platform, in helping so many people. And I know it's going to impact many lives. And I appreciate you spending some time with me and all that you've done. So mylifeandwishes.com is the website. I'm going to capture that. I'm going to have it in the show notes, because everybody listening to me needs to go check it out, because you need it. And I'm looking forward to it, John. Thanks for being my guest today, brother.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.